So hi everyone, my name is Sagar Kakkala. So here we are for DevOps day 2 session, and today the session would be around Docker. And before Docker, actually like apart from DevOps, I do content in finance and even travel and a lot other even memes and lyricists. So I'll just show around like how things work at like Sagar Kakkala's world, be it blog or YouTube. The simple thing I'd suggest is remember my name. You could just search my name, Sagar Kakkala, in Google, and you'll have my website, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And in website, uh, I think it's taking a bit time. Yeah, in website, everything you see will get into contents of blog. It's separated. In the blog, it's only DevOps and finance content and nothing else. And if you go for YouTube, everything is separated by playlists. You could actually go for playlists, or you could actually use home tab, like where I kept playlist pinned. And I actually wanted to tell this. And today at 7 p.m. IST, you'll have DevSecOps content that you would get DevSecOps podcast that me and Gauri Yadav addressed a few queries. It'll be live on YouTube today. You could actually either find in podcast with Sagar Kakkala or DevOps with Sagar Kakkala English. And apart from that, like
This
instead
is
of
my hack.
DevSecOps, you even have a FinOps. One second. You even have FinOps. One second. Is it okay? Yeah. Where is this? You even have a FinOps guidance here, which you could look into. Here we'll cover DevOps to GitOps, and if possible, I'll get AI Ops on board as well. So for FinOps, which we will not address in these sessions, you could actually go and how you could start FinOps as well. And as well, let's me go for like GitHub. And yes, we'll start with the day two. But before we get into day two, I'd request like whoever did not watch day one, I would request them to, you could actually, after this session, or even if you want, you had time, if you are feeling somewhere you're not understanding this session, you could actually go to day one again because day two is completely linked with day one. So that's what I suggest. If you don't understand day one, this session would be a bit harder for you. And let's say, let us start. And in GitHub, in the repositories, let's say in day one, what I did was I actually updated README file. In just README file, you'll have where's the blog and where's the video and everything. And same thing I'll update for day two as well. And as well, the Jira board, last time I actually forgot to close this ticket. So maybe I did not update the ticket. Let's say this is done. I'm just giving some random because we will do everything from the first here since Docker is something because this is something we are going to build on top of everything. I'm just giving to in progress and done. So as you enter into IT, as I said, I targeted people from non-IT as well here because a lot of my non-IT friends requested. Let's say I create a ticket, be it task or something. I'm going to Dockerize React application. You guys could let me know if I'm going too fast or something. Uh, Dockerize React code. I'm just giving some random. We actually will assign it. Labels and something. Let's say in progress. The second thing, actually, because it is a repo where I wanted to have day one and day two as well, like each individual things. And because at the earlier we had everything at one place. Let's say this is the one. Before in the Telugu we had used this repo, everything at one place. Here I'm going to divide that. That's it. If you are using Telugu project, if you had to use this repo, I mean, if you are using the same repo that is in the blog, here you had to uncomment this from here to here if you are still at day two and comment this so that you will not face any discrepancies. But if you are using the repo which I'll provide now, so you'll have nothing to worry. Yes, let's actually go for this. I actually created a repo yesterday. Let me see. Yeah, day two. And this is something which is having null. So I'm opening a terminal which you could open as CICD as well. Uh, Git clone. I'm just cloning that repository. And as well the other repository. Where is this? Which we have Dockerfile. Okay, goal site e-commerce exists already. Fine. I'm going for Finder, which is actually your file explorer. Where is this gold site e-commerce? I'm actually copying all these files. Control A, Control C, and then downloads. I'm opening Day2. It's just copy pasting those files here. Once it's done, we'll go for Visual Studio. File. Okay, great. So we are at Day2. So we're inside Day2. And as I said, this is for third. I'm deleting files which are not required. We are just setting up repo. Once I'll get into Docker, I'd explain everything. So nothing to worry. We are just keeping the repo ready. Okay, sorry, my bad. I removed which is important. Sonar. This is actually when we get into Sonar queue. Here in gold Docker file, as I said, because this is an individual repo, I'm removing this. Okay, command KU. Okay, fine. Okay, now our repo is ready. Mm, Sorry, I'm having bit trouble finding where are these keys. Okay, here are they. So what changed from day one to day two repo is only one thing. We added Docker file. That's it. Okay, our repo is now ready. Let's go for GitHub. Yes, we got everything added. We added Docker file. This is the same repo that we are using for day one, except one thing that changed was we added Docker file. So let's go for now. Why Docker came into picture? I think before addressing why Docker came into picture, maybe I'll show how EC2 instance we are updating so that like we'll get a clear picture. I actually forgot the IAM account that we used last time, so I'm actually going to root account and to get that IAM account. Last time I was not able to sign in to IAM account, SSH into IAM account only for one reason because I did not give permissions there. When I later checked, I was able to do that. And as well, the domain thing that I missed last time, the R domain did not appear because of SSL certificate, which we'll also discuss here. SSL certificate credentials were in the GoDaddy domain but were not in application. So that is why we were not able to see the domain at that time. 166. Oh, I gave the wrong command, I guess. Okay, it still came. Great. So I'm going for IAM. This is actually root account, which we will not use. But here is what I wanted. Like I want this IAM account. We give full access. What happened to this? Uh, okay. So EC2, like if I'm going to turn on EC2, here last time I did not discuss in detail, but here let's say I'm going for Docker demo. Mm, no, let me give build server because I'm not going to take off this instance. But I would suggest if you are going for a project for this, use only T3 micro is enough, like which is a free tier. So you could use, but here I'm using T5 large because I want to build complete architecture out of it, and that is why I'm going for T5. But I would suggest do not use T5. Um, where is that EC2 instance? Have been signed out. Maybe too many tabs I opened. Yes, I would suggest not to use. And here I have like build server, and here is where things start. Let's say I had selected Ubuntu. Ubuntu is actually an image which you are deploying it to into a server. Similar way, Docker has Docker images which we will deploy into a Docker container. So a simple concept there. And as well, last in day one, we had used a complete mission which had like 8 GB like internal storage. But to build this mission, like we don't need a complete mission. Let's say you don't need a lot of applications. Let's say if it is a React application, what we needed was Node.js and npm, and we want to deploy it in Nginx. Only these three softwares are needed, rest were not needed. So that is how Docker container works. It's just a simple way of saying that removing unnecessary things in a simple way. Only what is required for that application to run. We'll install that and we'll run that. That's it. So that is where like Docker started as a revolution. And if it is, let's say, if you turn up a Docker image, it will come for like 40 MB or 50 MB. Imagine in 8 GB, how many of applications that you could keep. A lot of applications you could keep because each one is just 40 MB. Where is this? I think I opened a lot of tabs and where are someone joined? Okay, one second. Since I opened a lot of tabs, these are getting confused for me as well. Hmm, let me remove all the unnecessary ones. Okay, this is what we are doing now. This is what we will do. Okay, the Jira ticket. Okay, the repo, it's not needed. Okay, okay, raw.io. Yes, fine. Mm. So we'll create what was I telling at the last? Yeah. So imagine in 8 GB, 8 GB of space, you could create a lot of such applications. Let's say if you take only one EC2 instance last we took, and we were able to deploy only one application, one React code. But if you take Docker images, you could install like a lot of React such codes if it fits into memory. And as well, like in the same server, at the day zero, we discussed about monolithic and microservice architecture, where monolithic it's something like everything is in a single code. Let's say if it is an same AWS, if let's say if I'm not able to use this feature, like if I'm clicking this, these details are not coming. So it impacts complete code if it is monolithic. But if it is microservice, though I'm not able to use this, I'm still able to like turn up an EC2 instance. Like I'm able to use EC instances. I'm able to use all other options in AWS. This actually keep the customers still in their website. And meanwhile, I'm doing this, the one that's supporting AWS or something, they could still fix this. So everything is isolated by microservice architecture. Let's say I run this application in one Docker image, I run this application in one Docker image. That's how like Docker helps isolating each thing. So making it a microservice architecture. Let's create a key pair. Uh, Day2 demo. And here I'm taking T5. As I suggested, do not take T5 because I'm going to build something completely here. So that is where I'm taking T5. Okay, it's not T5, it's T3 X2 large. It's based on locations, actually things changed. If it is other location, it would have changed it T5 with the same configurations because I'm taking Stockholm. It's T3 2x large, but this is a bit costly instance, so I would not recommend. Yes, let's launch instance. Because I'm going to build complete project out of this. That is why I was taking this. That's why I'm risking a bit of money. Else T3 micro, which is a free tier, would be enough. And let's wait till this gets initialized. Hmm. As I said, where is Docker? Yeah. So here Docker, as I said, it works on containers, which I think like it's better if I show it to you practical and then come with for theory. So because you could link things better. Maybe I'll try to connect. If it connects, that's great. Mm, Yes, here is where I had to do because last time I forgot to give permissions. That is where like it did not allow. It's already in downloads folder. I know wherever the key is there, we'll give the permissions there. Since it's I know it's already in downloads folder. I went till that, and now where is this? Yes, this actually you could actually click this SSH minus Ubuntu because it's Ubuntu S. It's the username is Ubuntu by default. And here, this is a public IP domain. You could use this or even the public IP. I mean, like SSH minus 2 day2 domain dot PM Ubuntu at the rate public IP. It could actually work both the ways, either this or where's the public IP, which you could find here. So both the ways it works. We are going to give that what AWS ACT instance has given us. Uh, I think it's still under initialization. Maybe it's a bigger server. Okay, it passed. I don't know why it's making such thing in live. Hmm. Let's go for IP. I checked it in the morning, it worked, and now fine. If this does not work, we'll go for a same root account that we went yesterday without wasting much time. Mm, 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 mm. Let us check security groups if that has security groups with port 22 opened or not. It must have inbound rules port 22. Yes, it's there. I don't know whether it's my mission problem or something. Maybe I'll try one more time. If it's not happening, we'll not stay here. We will just use root account like previously. Did anyone join? Okay, fine. Hmm, fine. I don't know why it's still not working. In the morning I checked it worked. Fine. We can't waste much time troubleshooting this. Uh, let's get into root account. We'll have the root account in, I mean, like instance via root account as well. Authenticator. Hmm, yes, we're inside the instance. Okay. And now, like before starting with day two, I mean the practical, you remember the last time what we did was we had installed Git at the day one, and what we had did is we had cloned the repository, we had installed Node.js, we had installed npm, and then we had run this command npm run build, like which gave us some build files, and we used that build files. Then we had installed some folder like application nginx, and then we had copied it at a specific path. So these are the steps which we followed at day one. So the same steps we will ask Docker to follow. It's more like automating things. We will just tell Docker to follow this in a stepwise manner. So for that, that's what we will do now. And let's start. Yes, before actually, like if you are going for installing of Docker or something, what I would recommend is like just like Windows has flavors like Windows 7, Windows XP, and lot of things. Like each one are different versions of Windows. Linux has something like Ubuntu, Debian, and like Fedora and lot of things. Like what OS are you going to install? Docker is as well like plays major role of installations. Maybe not just Docker, maybe it's Ansible, Jenkins, or anything. You should know what OS is currently inside the Linux system that's running. Like what flavor actually. We call this flavors. Everything is Linux, but these are called flavors. As you could see, it said the name is Ubuntu. So we are at Ubuntu OS. And here these commands and everything were actually copied from official documentation. So Docker itself provides Docker official documentation where you could find the commands. You could select like what OS you are installing. Based on that, it will give you the commands. The same commands I actually used. So these are from official documentation. This command actually removes the existing Docker. If Docker is already there, like the older version or something, it uninstalls the existing package because it's a new system. This command does not play major role, but you could just run it. As you could see, zero new installed, zero to remove, zero to upgrade. And here is where we will start installing Docker. And now these are like prerequisites of Docker to add the official GPG key that's given by Docker itself. And these are installation of Dockers. And here, if I fail to explain commands in live, actually I wrote it in the blog what each command does. Maybe since these are official, I did not write. This is just to check a version, what Docker version we are running in. So Docker version 27, which is the latest version now. Yes, these are the steps which we did. But here, what we had to do is git clone this repo. But this is not the repo we are going to use. We are going to use the different repo, as I said, because we just at the initial when we started the session, we remember, right? We had configured a different repo for this Docker file. So we are going to do this. Just we'll follow everything, same steps, but instead of this repo, we are going to follow the other repo. And here I failed to address where in day one, I actually kept screenshots and everything same, but only thing I requested was to use a different repo. I think didn't I wrote that? Okay, here I said I highly recommend use this day one repo instead of this repo. The same thing, I'll not update this key code and everything. If you are using this repo, remember the initial change I had told, like you had to uncomment and comment that. That one thing you had to follow. But here, because I want to keep screenshots in intact, so that is why I'm not changing the repo code here. But it is just simple that we had to use different repo. That's it. Yes, where is the CC2 instance? Yes. So we are cloning this repo. Yes. Once the repo is cloned, mm, yes. Okay, this is CD change directory because we don't have that. We have to change directory to LSS list and we have to change directory to day2. CD is just change directory. And inside directory, yes, here is where Docker had updated few things. Instead of from small as, it should be uppercasing, which I missed to update in the blog. I'll update later. It should be capital AS in case I forget. So just remember that it should be capital AS. So now inside this, just like we had a Docker file, we have this Docker file now inside this repo, which is gold Docker file. Okay, I did not update this. Didn't we forget to update that? Okay, I forgot to save and commit. Yes, my bad. Okay, we modified. Okay, now. Now, as you could see, if you are using that gold site e-commerce repo, you just had to like uncomment this and comment this. But now I had updated this, so this is the same thing you could use as it is. So here, Docker file, I think I gave you a homework to read components of Docker file as well. But here I'll just give a basic overview. From is just like a basic OS image. If you remember the day one, what we did was the basic image that we took was Ubuntu. And on Ubuntu, we had installed packages like Node.js, NPM, and everything. The same thing, we are going to do this. Here, this is called Node, from Node 18, just like we had Amazon AMI images, which you saw starting. We have Docker for everything, we have images. And everything you get via Docker Hub. Let's say if I want to have a node image, you have this. And to actually use this image, a simple thing, Docker pull node. And if you want to use this image from node, and colon 18 is actually a tag here. Let's say colon 18 is a tag, means what I was using here is this one from node colon 18. So I'm using this image actually. And as build mission, so I'm giving this image as build mission name. What I'm going to do here is, let's say I'm creating a mission and I'm naming that as build mission. And in that, I'm creating a directory called slash app. Slash app is nothing but what we are doing is make directory slash app. And what I'm doing, copy is something like package.json and whatever files are there with package.json. We had to install that. And let's say if we are running our file here, what it does is this package.json, like there is a star, right? Package log.json, these both files would be moved into slash app directory. So that's what copy does. Because why slash app directory is? Because we our work directory is app. So everything that work is being done would be inside app. I mean like slash app. And now what we are doing, we are installing npm, and this copy dot is like present directory to complete slash app. Dot is like present directory. Let's say if I'm giving like copy dot, it copies all these files inside that slash app. And next, run npm run build. Run npm run command is just used to run command. Let's say if I'm giving if I want to run command like sudo update. I mean command not found. I think sudo apt get update. I guess if I want Docker to tell to run this command, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use run as a prefix, that because run is something it will does inside the container. So what I'm telling here is to run npm run build. So that is what we did in day one. It gave us a build file, if you remember. So next, what we are doing is this is actually a multi-stage build. It's like two missions. Let's say one mission, what it's doing. One mission, what it does, it actually takes the coordinate and everything. It is named as build mission according to our code. It is actually named as build mission because we named it build mission. What it does, it install Node.js, it takes the code, and then it forms the build file. So one stage is done. So it forms the build file. This is in the day one that we discussed that we get build files. And next, there is a multi-stage, right? This is a second stage where it gets another mission, just like it got that. It takes another mission, and here the base image is Nginx. So it is stopping, it is making everything under Nginx, simply an Nginx installed mission. So you don't have to install Nginx again. This is simply a node installed mission. If you remember in day one, we had installed Node.js separately and then we had run build. So here we are already taking a mission which is installed with Node.js. Same way we are taking another mission which is installed with Nginx, and this Alpine is the tag that I had showed, just like we had tags here. We'll talk about Docker tags as well later, because tags as well plays a major role in our project. Where is this guild file? Nginx, and what it does is copy from build mission. So this is that build mission. So what it does inside build mission, it goes inside build mission and it's check for slash app folder, because everything that we are doing in mission one is done inside slash app. So that is where like it goes inside slash app and it gets that build folder and it copies inside, I mean, like it gets in Nginx in HTML path. You remember at the day one we were copying it in slash var slash www slash HTML. It's the same path here in this Nginx mission. So simply we are getting the build folder here inside slash app, and then mm, we are actually getting that inside Nginx mission. So Nginx mission, and we'll run that, and we are exposing this build folder. We are telling that expose it at port 80. Remember this, we'll talk about this, why we are exposing in port 80. So it's like inside that image, we are getting into port 80. And here CMD is like where just like run, but at the start point. Let's say if the mission is starting, you start Nginx. In the day one, what we did was sudo systemctl status Nginx. Only if Nginx is running, our application actually opens because our application is deployed in Nginx. So we had to make sure that Nginx is running. In case if you miss this step, what happens is Docker works in a way that if its job is done, it will kill its container. Let's say if nothing is running, let's say we had skipped this step. What it does is it actually does this mission, build mission, and then gets into build folder. It exposes at port 80, and now it has no work. Let's say it has nothing running inside it. It will kill its container. We don't want that to happen. We want to tell Docker that there is still your work and you had to still do a work. So that is where this step is important. We are running Nginx. Now Docker knows that that is something is running and my job is not done. So that is where like Docker still runs. The explanation of 1 second, yes. And one more thing is once this Nginx is done and once it gets into second image, right? Whatever it has done in mission, it actually deletes this mission. It actually does not keep this mission. So as a part of this, this multi-stage build, like we call this multi-stage build, uh, I mean like one mission we do some work, we take some work, and then we delete that work, and we actually save a lot of memory of it. So this is called multi-stage build. This actually reduces the size of image as well. Let's say if we are doing everything at one place instead of two in one, it actually increases our image size. And actually, in recent DevOps concepts, multi-stage build plays a priority role to reduce image sizes. It's just we are telling Docker, take a mission, build a folder, and once it's built, give it to this mission, and you delete yourself so that we'll save our memory. That's it. Uh, Till here, everyone is clear, right? Because on top of this only we are building everything. Let me know if anyone has any queries here. Now
Bro,
we'll,
CMD ఒకసారి
sorry.
CMD last step. CMD one is there. Can you explain it again?
Yeah. CMD is
Yeah.
just like when you start a container, right? We'll see how we'll start a container as well. Docker, how it works is when you start a container or something, it will check whether it follows this all steps or not. If it says my job is done, let's say if I'm not giving the CMD, I'm skipping the CMD. It says my job is done. Okay, I'll kill myself. So that's how Docker works. It's like, okay, my job is done. I don't have to run anymore because my owner or someone asked me to do this job. I'm done. So I'll kill myself. So Docker works that way. We want to tell Docker, no, your job is not done. There is something you had to continuously do. And what we are doing is we are turning off, we are actually telling Nginx to run inside it because this is an Nginx image. It is simply at the day one we had seen that Nginx status, right? Maybe I could not go back to mission, but I think I had screenshots. Mhm. Yes, sudo system CTL status Nginx. So it says Nginx is running, right? Same thing. We are telling Docker Nginx is still running. As long as the Nginx is running, you still be alive. Don't kill yourself. That's it. We are just telling Docker to turn on Nginx, like to run Nginx, so that it does not kill itself and it will make our replication visible. That's it. Clear, right?
Okay, okay. Sometimes container is killing itself, right?
Yeah,
With idle time. So,
yeah, Docker containers works in a way such that if my
okay,
job is done, I'll kill myself. So we are
okay,
telling Docker, your job is not done, you are still have to run Nginx. As long as Nginx keeps running, it will not kill itself. So that is what we want.
okay.
So till here, everyone is clear, right? Okay, we'll get into next steps now. Okay, this is day one. Okay, this is day two. Mm, Yes, same thing here. Everything is the same explanation. And to build this Docker file, there are two steps. If you had been in this path, let's say, if I actually run this command, let's say if I'm not giving this, just I'm giving dot, it actually failed, as you could see, it failed to read Dockerfile. If you are not giving Dockerfile, there are two things we could do. Instead of gold Dockerfile, simply what Docker does is if you are going to build file, it actually search for the name called Dockerfile. That's it. It will search for the name Dockerfile, and inside Dockerfile, we had to have these contents. But if it failed to, let's say, if you are not naming your file as Dockerfile, just like on Docker standards, and here in industries, we don't name Dockerfile, we name according to the application name so that it's easy for us to track. So that is why I did not name it Dockerfile. I named it as Gold Dockerfile. In case you named it a different file and you want to build this file, you want Docker to tell, don't search for this called Docker file. Instead, search for what do you say? Gold Docker file. So what we are going to do, we are going to just attach a flag here. Flag is nothing but a command. Here minus f is a flag, and minus f is a flag called file. And here we are naming it Gold Docker file. So search for the file named Gold Docker file. That's what we are telling Docker. So now it will search for the name called Gold Docker file. That's it. Okay, I think something we missed. What does it say? Copy, share, Nginx, HTML. Oh, okay, sorry, we missed it actually, Git pull, because we actually made some changes in Git repo, but we forgot to uh, get that changes here. Yes. So now it's building a Docker image. It's simply whatever steps we did manually in day one, we're actually telling Docker to do those steps. It's simply automation. Uh, That's it. We're just guiding Docker to do those steps. That's it. Yeah, anyone had any queries? You could let know here because it might take some bit of time. And here one more thing I wanted to add is Docker work on layering architecture. Did someone join or what happened? Okay, we took a lot
Time,
of time.
15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, I'll raise another link and I'll send. Nothing to worry because I had few more things to address. I don't. These days I don't know. Like we are going too slow or something because I just wanted to explain in brief. That is where like things are taking
It
time.
doesn't allow extend the session.
I had to buy Google Premium for it, which I don't want to take
Oh,
money on that. We could actually generate new links, so don't worry on that.
okay. Bro, these Docker file is similar to all kind of languages like, no, right? It's different based on the programming language. It will be commands were different.
It does not matter on other programming. I think I gave a homework there. Learn the
Mhm.
components of Dockerfile. If you had like these, it depends on the commands. From means it's a OS. What's underlying OS? Docker must know. Work directory is what directory should it does the things. And copy
Mhm.
is just like from where to where it should copy. And run is as I said, I gave example sudo apt get update. So it's like what command it should run inside container, and copy is something, same thing. And expose is like what port it should expose on. And CMD is once the container is run, what should it do? And CMD and entry point work the same way, and there are like minor changes in CMD and entry point. If you had learned like what each of this thing does, like what of each component does, that's enough for a Docker file actually.
Okay. So, so actually, this is very simple Docker file, right? Does
Yes.
it organization use same like this or any later words like any other additional lines
Mm,
require?
any additional lines means like it depends on like what you want to do.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
yeah, there is entry point which I was like which it's not required for this Docker file, so I did not use.
Mhm.
So it depends. Like there are only like 6 to 7 components that you need to learn in Docker file. That's it.
Okay,
In that like 3 or 4 were here itself. So if there
okay,
are additional components, I would actually ask you to self-learn that because
okay.
it depends on every organization what they want to do as well.
Okay. As you suggest, like learn 6 or 7 components, it will easy for us. Like any interview, we can write simply for the Docker files.
Oh, brother, I said you have to do the homework. That is why. It's more like, let's say, there are components of Dockerfile. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I know that, I know that. I just
Uh,
asking simply.
yes, I don't think. Maybe you could actually ask ChatGPT itself. It will give you
Yeah, yeah,
seven or
sure.
eight and what each does. Let's say what from does, what workdir does, what copy does, what run does. It's enough actually. It's more than enough for
Okay.
writing a Docker file.
So here we are creating two images, right?
Two images? No, no, no. We are creating one image, but it's a multi-stage build. As I
Okay.
explained, so in this one image, let's say in this, what Docker takes is it takes one mission, takes a build file, and then it deletes it. Simply it deletes this file. I mean, like it deletes this
Okay.
container, and whatever build file it's there, it's actually uses this. Let's say if you are adding another or a kind of files, whatever is at the end, it only keeps that alive.
Okay. Okay.
So this is called multi-stage build, which is actually being a part of standards in industry now. So that is why I used multi-stage build. Once again, I think it's taking some time.
What is like difference between image and container, bro?
As I think initially I told you, right? Let's say while turning on AWS EC2 instance, what happens was AWS EC2 instance is a server, and in that server you could install any image. Like let's say you could install Ubuntu, you could install
Yeah.
maybe it's better I'll show here. Let's say if I'm this is a server,
Mm-hmm.
and in this server I could install Mac OS, I could install Ubuntu, I could install Windows, I could install Red Hat. Same thing. Here these images, these Amazon Mission images, you could compare it with Docker images. And this AWS server is just your Docker container, simply. So we are building Docker image and we'll deploy it inside Docker container. Got the difference, right? One is OS, one is like a server. That's it. Clear?
Yeah, yeah. Like we can assume like it as a VM.
Yes, more like Docker container, you could think of it like a server itself. But a
Okay.
server with the OS that we required. That's it. Like
Yeah.
what we are doing in this project is we are actually in that container, we have only Nginx, nothing more.
Yeah.
And Nginx,
Mm-hmm.
and we deployed this build file. That's it. It's a very, very simple application. I mean, like it's a very mini server. Like now AWS EC2, we had used 8 GB there, but here we don't have to use 8 GB there. I'll show you the image size as well. Mm, but yeah, maybe it's taking some time because this is the main step. And Docker here, I wanted to tell you, it works on a layering architecture. Docker works on, as you could see, it followed 2 by 2 step and 9 by 13 step, and only at the initial, like it forms a layer on layer on layer. Let's say if I'm running command twice, mm, let's say if I run the same command twice, what it does is from is one layer. As I said in Docker file, from is one layer and run is
Okay.
another layer. So at the initial time, when you run the command, it forms one layer, second layer, third layer, everything.
Like each component.
Yeah, each component is one layer, but you had run the command again. Docker has its memory that this layer is already formed. It actually has a memory. So this layer is already formed, so no need to form it again. This layer is already formed, no need to form it again. This layer is already formed, no need to form it again. Let's say a fourth layer is already formed, but it has some change. Let's say I had changed a few bit of code and it checks whether internally it has some change or it does not have some change. So if it has some change, what it does is instead of forming these three layers, it only forms this last layer, like where it's required change. So as a result, Docker even what do you get caused a revolution, saying that instead of forming four layers or three layers, we were going to form only fourth layer now. Because three layers I formed it previously, I'll take it from there. I don't have to form it again. So that is where Docker even works very fast. Yes, yes, it's taking a bit of time. There the mission stopped or something. Yeah, maybe actually I could actually run this. Let me actually show here itself. Okay, the commands are not working. Maybe the mission did not. Maybe the mission hanged, I guess. Let's actually go again. Hmm, Maybe here you'll see. Okay, we were at Docker layering, the same thing that I was telling, Docker layering. You'll be able to see now it actually works much faster now than compared to before. The repo that we are in CD Day2, which we had gold Docker file. As you could see, it actually like finished. Maybe at that time system got stuck, I guess, because now it did not take any much time because it's the same code, it's the same layer. It already formed the layers already. Maybe the system got hanged, I guess. That's why it did not show. So as you could see, it just took a second. As you could see, building in zero point 0.9 seconds. How was it able to build in zero point 0.9 seconds? When that initial, like we saw, the system got hanged and it like was running a lot of steps because simple solution, Docker works on layering architecture. Only if it finds a change, it'll form that new layer. Else, no. So that is where no matter how many times I run this command, because it has already layers formed, it will give me in the same split second, like zero point 0.9 seconds. Got the Docker layering architecture, right? So as I was telling, these are pseudo Docker images. Images are you could compare it to your AWS AMI, just like your OS. This image is formed. Now what we had to do, this image we had to put it in server. This image you could take it like your OS operating system, and this image we want to deploy it in a server. And as you could see, this size is just 49.8 MB. We don't imagine like 8 GB of server, and we could deploy these many applications. Just not this React code. Let's say if I want to take any other React code, I can still build inside the same EC2 instance. And actually, Docker revolutionized how Docker helped in revolutionary is one point here, and other point is before Docker, everyone like every organization used to use VMs. VMs are nothing but you could take your AWS EC2 instance as well. These are VMs in cloud. Before, I think you might have heard by your practice, you could have heard like Oracle VMs or VMware VMs. What happens in VMs? Whatever your internal resources are there, let's say if it is your AWS EC2 instance, your AWS EC2 instance, and inside that you want to run a VM. So what happens was, I think, yeah, arrange. Yeah, you want to run a VM. So what happens was, these VMs used to take half of your resources that is inside your AWS EC2 instance. So it has to take the resources from this to keep running. So as a part of that, these systems like AWS EC2 or the VMware instances, this must have very, very high capacity. And if you go for very high capacity, your costs actual will increase a lot. That is where the DevOps revolution or the cloud revolution started and the Docker revolution started. So that is where your Docker helps. Docker, whereas on the other hand, it does not take much of your resources that is inside your EC2 instance. Uh, it will just take the resources required. It is not built on top of hypervisor. It will directly use the resources from your OS, required OS. But whereas VMs use hypervisor, simply taking away a lot of your resources. So if you are using, let's say, if you had installed Oracle VM in your Windows, you might have observed that your Windows system that you are running might run very slow till you stop that VM. So that is where like now even if I want to use anything in this EC2 instance, it will not be slow because Docker where it uses very minimal resources and it's very efficient, and the size is as well like very less if it consumes very less resources. Till here clear, right? The Docker image clear, right? We will now deploy it inside Docker container. Everyone is clear? And now to deploy it inside Docker container, it's just this sudo docker run. Maybe we don't need to sudo docker run as well. Yeah, we could go for this. Sudo is just root. And what we are doing, we're telling, since Docker is already installed, we're telling Docker to create, I mean, like to run inside the container named React Docker container, and minus p is a port. And as you remember, this port works on two ways. The first line, the first letter is host port. Host port is nothing but now how our system is, how our Docker is. Let's say this is our Docker. This is our, okay, I think we have AWS EC2 as well. This is our AWS EC2 instance. So we had, mm, okay, why is this not coming? Okay. Yeah, so we had AWS EC2 instance, and inside that Docker is installed. So where we are running this Docker is AWS EC2 instance. So AWS EC2 instance is a host. So yes, so the first thing here is, where is this blog? Yeah, the first line here is host. Host port is nothing but your AWS EC2 instance port. And here is container port. And container port, why I kept 80? Because container port where I exposed, container port is 80. This is what I exposed. If you are keeping, you could actually experiment. If you want to like change a different port, you could actually edit this file and keep like 8080. So if you are keeping 8080, simply like instead of following the block, you had to keep here 8080. It is simple that simply what we are telling is the application host port to container port, whatever the Docker port is there, it's running on port 80, right? It's running on port 80. And if you want to access this application of Docker and you want to access this application from a host like AWS EC2 instance, you had to like go for AWS EC2 instance and port 80. And because we mapped AWS EC2 instance port to Docker container port 80, so you understood why this command has been written, right? Like host port and container port, and how container port we exposed, and this host port like we will, okay. Mm, mm, yes. Hi Gaurav, one second. Okay, thanks everyone for joining back. I don't know, like this actually, if I go fast, if I just use block, it will just take 20 minutes if you are implementing project. But since we are going to bit of explanation and depth, it's taking bit of time. But I hope this clears a lot of doubts on Docker too. Let's go. I'll share the screen again. Mm, yes, where are we? Actually, like what did I discuss last? A bit. Yeah, you guys were clear on that port part, right? How this port and this port got connected. So the application that's running inside Docker, as like we exposed port 80, now in AWS EC2 instance, we are telling AWS inside AWS EC2 instance, if someone targets port 80, route them to Docker container which has port 80. You guys were clear on this part, right? Because this stands as very important part in this container thing. Yes. So here minus D is detached mode. If you do not give minus D detached, the Docker will continue running in your EC2 console, and it will not allow you to actually what to call use AWS EC2 console again. It's like we are telling detached mode is something like run in the background, not in foreground. So I want to still use my AWS EC2 instance for other purpose. That's it. Okay, sorry, I think I did not send the thing in new channel, I guess. One second. Okay, yes. So everyone is clear on this port part, right? Because if someone didn't understand, we'll go through it again because this is the major one. Everyone is clear, right? I could move to next. Assuming the silence, I'll take it as no. And here, minus D, detached. Here we had given image name. If you remember, here we had given sudo docker images because here minus T is tag. Tag is nothing but a name we are giving. For this Docker file, we are going to tag with name as React Docker. So here we are naming container as React Docker container. And Docker has this funny thing. If you do not name anything, it will give you some funny names. That Docker has it. It will say like you did not give a name. I'll give it a funny name. You could actually see that. Maybe in this command I'll remove name and see. And here React Docker, this is the image name we are telling. Create a Docker container and expose this port. And inside this container, use this image. Image is nothing but the OS we created earlier using the Docker file. So I'm just running this command now. Yes, the Docker container is running, and to check if the container is not running or not, sudo docker ps. That's it. It says this is running on port 80. You could check. Hmm, let's say, let me go. Yeah, sudo docker ps. Our deployment is now successful. But here in this instance, to use this instance, we had to expose this for security groups port 80 because that is where we told our application saying that users will connect through application 80. I'm like port 80. So I'm just giving this security group rules where I'm allowing. I explained in day one like why inbound rules how we connect and outbound rules how we connect. So we'll not go for explanation again. We are saving rules. Okay, now it's done. Let's see how if you guys want to connect, you could also connect. You could use this IP. If you want, I'll just ping it in the chat and simply call an 80. You will be able to see the application. Let's say I'll just show you here. Colon 80. Why is this not coming now? Okay, something is not right. The container is running, everything is running. React Docker.
Bro,
Okay,
it's coming for me.
okay, okay, yeah, got it. Because HTTPS is SSL. As long as it has SSL, it will not check. I will remove. Yeah, colon 80 or without colon 80, it's the same. Why it's not coming? Okay, yeah, continue to site. Yes, here one more thing, because as I said, like someone who is doing it in day two, they might confuse using this. So I'm going to change bit of code to show you like now how we actually had to, how fast we could do this. Simply data.js, Dockerized, well, let's say day two, React application, successfully, okay. Command is And here in IT, like for everything you do, we had to raise a PR, which I'm not doing. Like for every small change, simply what you had to do is git checkout minus B, which creates a branch, and most of the times we'll create feature branch slash, let's say, Docker changes. Like I'm just showing how IT works. Docker changes once the branch is changed. What we'll do is we are going to push this PR. Once the PR is pushed, what happens was like whoever is owning the repo or wherever the repo is, you'll get a notification that a PR is pushed. I mean, like a branch is pushed, and we'll raise a PR. We'll keep that PR in the ticket that we created, like the Jira ticket, saying that because now the time has been constrained, maybe I'll not do this. Maybe in day 3 or day 4 where we had time, I'll show that process as well. Yes, where was I? Yeah, did this update or not? Let's see. Okay, day 2, it's updated. Now, now I want to push this code inside. Simply what I'll do, I'll just git pull, and now I want to like build an image. Let's say, not this. Instead of gold Docker file, let's say I'm going to, yeah, uh, 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 I'm going to build this image as React Docker 2, just like that. As you could see, now since it already has a layers, it went into 11th step. And only code changed, as I was explaining, it's a layering architecture. There is a bit of code changed, so it understood that it has to run build folder again. So it's running. Yeah, this is build step which takes a lot of time. But yes, like while this is running, let me know you guys had any queries on Docker, like still where we are going. Everyone were clear on Docker part, right? Pawan has left the meeting. Okay. Mm. I'm taking bit time to Docker because Kubernetes, Helm charts, everything is built on Docker itself. And I might take bit of time for bash scripts as well because that's where like our automation plays a major role. Mm. Yes. Now, if I want to like, I'm actually stopping this container. To stop container, it's just you have to remember the three letters, like initial first three letters or something. That's it. So as you could see, it stopped container. Now we are going to, yes, React Docker 2, a different container. Okay, what does it say? Ah, okay, is already the container name is already there. Mm, yes, now it's running. Let's go for this file. Where is our file? Yes, as you could see, Day2 is successfully done. And now in GoDaddy, I'll just update this domain. Last time it did not allow us to get into the domain because SSL certificate credentials were there, which were missing actually in the application, but was there in GoDaddy. That is why. Let's say I'll just update the IP. What's that AC to public IP? And here for Kubernetes, if you go, I would recommend everyone here to take a domain which is at very less cost because we will start using Ingress and everything. Like without domain, it's bit hard to practice as well. Let's go for hurrydev.shop now. It'll take a bit of time. Mm, why is this not allowing? Fine, come on. I checked in the morning, it worked. Hmm, okay, this domain thing, maybe I had to wait for some time, 5 minutes or something. Fine, we'll check the domain later. Yes, I think someone had some questions. Sabiram did not join, so I can't address things. Fine. Anyone had any queries till here? I think that domain would appear. Maybe you guys could try once. Haridev.shop. It'll show the same thing which was shown now here. Attacks Ravan. Who is attacks Ravan? It's Ravan Tangeti.
Bro, can you show me where
Yes.
you add the IP address
Add IP
in the
address.
GoDaddy?
GoDaddy.
Go
Simply,
ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Simply you will go for your ID and my products. Like if you buy domain, my products, and you'll get your
Mm-hmm.
domain and everything here. Wherever it is, you'll go for DNS.
Mm-hmm.
And here in the DNS, let's say maybe I'll delete this just to show. You could just add a new record, and here it will be either A or the. So we'll choose the.
Okay.
A or the it's the same. Before it is address record, but I don't know why they changed it to the. So it is A record, address record, and here you'll just keep at the rate. And here in this place, we'll keep AWS EC to public IP
Okay.
because public IP is where we expose it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you can't keep private IP here because AWS default sets that rule that no, I'll not allow you. And here I gave custom. Here I just gave 600 seconds and save.
I can access hari slash dev.shop.
Okay, it's coming now because I just removed domain IP and everything. It must take some time.
Let's see.
Okay, if it's accessible, maybe it's not accessible for me. I don't know. Okay, continue to site. Mm, maybe if I'll use Safari, where is Safari? Mm, I don't, I don't know why Fortnite is blocking while I was on live itself because I tried in the morning, it did not block me. Why it's blocking? Newly observed domain. I'll do this thing later because it's blocking by VPN. I don't know why it's blocking by VPN. Okay, Shravan, you're the one who asked for labs, right? Are you the one or
Yeah,
anyone?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, fine. If you don't want to access 1 second, fine. Let me stop this easy to instance first before I forget because this is a very costly instance
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't want to because one time I forgot for one day it took me like 7K bill. So if you guys are like using this, just stop instance so that your bills are saved. If you want to like continue anytime and it's just like instance running, if you want to see, just remove this filter. That stopped instance will come back and instance start instance back. That's it. Yeah, and someone like who wants to practice either AWS free tier is one way, and other thing you want to practice just for command's sake. If you had Mac OS, Mac is completely built on Linux. You could use the same commands there. But if you're having Windows and you want to use Linux, KodeKloud Free Labs, just search in Google, you'll have everything. If you want to, let's say, practice Docker, just click on this Docker basic commands. It'll actually take a bit of time for this codes to run. Once it's done, you have your terminal and server and everything. Same way you want to practice anything else. Just KodeKloud Free Labs. That's it. Terraform or Linux or even Ansible, Jenkins. If you want to practice Git commands, this is the way. So you got your answer right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, this is something like which they give terminal, but you could actually, I mean, like which they ask questions, you could actually use your own commands as well, like this, instead of like bothering about questions. If you are need terminal, you could use this terminal. Instead, if you want like two questions to answer, you could actually use this question and answers as well for knowledge. Yes, that's it. I think yeah, we are done with the session. Since I thought like if Abhiram joins, I wanted to take, but Abhiram was not there, so we will not take this his query here. Maybe if he joins second or third session, I'll take his query then that time. Yes, so everyone is clear, right? So I'm going to today's session over. Yes, Docker, we are done with Docker, right? Anything that we missed? Ah, okay, homework. I missed homework. Yes, sorry, my bad. Yes, day three we'll go for Kubernetes. And yes, before coming into Kubernetes, to understand better, just go for like these questions. What is Kubernetes architecture? And these are like interview questions as well, where you could expect. And I don't know how to do. Yes, what are uh, how do you check events in Kubernetes? How to make slave connection to master node, you could say. Instead of slave, you could just say how to make worker node connection. And how to check logs. What are daemon sets? Deployments. I think this isn't better. What are daemon sets and stateful sets? What is a pod, deployment, and replica, and ingress. What, why are ingress controllers used? Yes, I think these are the questions enough for Kubernetes if you are going too deep. Yes, done. No, I'll send you it in WhatsApp group or channel chat as well. That's it. I think there is nothing more to discuss in Docker apart from this in the basic level. We covered everything. We did a project, and yes, the rest is on you guys to do things. Yes. Yeah. Thanks everyone. In day three, we'll go into Kubernetes, and I want you guys to cover these questions as well.
Bro, apart from this Docker file, we need to learn anything in Docker.
Oh, bro, that is why I gave you homework where you had to learn Docker Compose file and everything.
Any important topics, like I'm asking.
Yes, yes, those are very important topics only. That's where I
Compose?
was giving homework. Maybe I'll actually update in
Okay.
YouTube
I
description as
missed,
well.
yeah, I missed that part, so that's why, sorry.
Yes, so if you're not doing homework, I can't help because here I'm not going to cover everything. So it's just the basic part
Okay.
I'll cover, and the advanced and everything you guys had to take care, which I'll not cover. But yes, how I would suggest learning is maybe for Shravan or someone I thought of telling. Maybe he's not there. Simply watch this video. If you are in live, you don't have to watch this video again. Uh, Go practice the blog. Once the blog is done, you are done with Docker. That entire week, let's say we are going to meet again on next Sunday. This entire week, study on Docker and just learn those Kubernetes questions I gave. That's it, nothing more. That's it. Yeah. So you'll be strong within 1 week. You'll be strong enough in Docker. Yeah. Yes, that's it. With that said, we'll. Oh yeah. Sorry, we'll take a screenshot. 1 second. Let me stop the recording.